Hello guys, welcome back. Today I thought it would be fun to kind of look back on the month that I took off of YouTube and kind of look at the makeup that I used and just talk about it because I've thought it was really different when I was choosing my makeup when I was not filming for the first time for a significant amount of time for years. So when I had no videos to film, no products to really review, what was I reaching for? So if you are new here, I did take the entire month of February this year off of YouTube. I did not do any video planning. I just did not do any filming. I just totally kind of stepped back and I took a little break from YouTube. There were some weekends where I did a little bit of a social media break, but it was really just kind of a break from YouTube because I felt like I was kind of overworking myself and making and treating YouTube more like a job and less like the hobby that it actually is. And I'm really glad that I took that time and I kind of collected the makeup that surprised me that I was choosing throughout the last month, because the stuff that's I thought I would reach for, I did. Everything in my Petty Project pan, my Pen That palettes, of course I reached for those. But without the constraint of an everyday makeup basket and without having to film anything specific, I really was surprised by what I picked. Okay, let's start first with a product that I'm actually shocked I finally finished. This is the Dermacol makeup cover. I actually just posted my first YouTube Shorts video not too long ago talking about why I think this is the best product I've ever owned in my entire makeup collection. I don't know if I can put shorts in the cards, but if I can, I'll throw it up there. But literally, I bought this in 2017, and the last 2 years, I noticed the first few years I had this, I wasn't using it that often. Last 2 years, I've been using this just about daily. And it never went bad, and I just finally finished it. This is what a brand new Dermacol looks like, and this is what the finished one looks like. This is such an amazing multitasking product, and it was so affordable. If you look at the price per use, it's probably less than a fraction of a penny per use. Because I bought this, I believe it was between $10 and $20. I think the first bottle that I bought was around $11, and I think the prices fluctuate on Amazon a ton. I think this one was closer to $20. But still, I used this daily for years. And it lasted that long. It's just spectacular. So I was reaching for this over my break and I actually finished it. And even after I finished it, I was shocked because I looked back and I was doing my makeup the next day and I went to reach for the Dermacol and I didn't have it because I had the new one kind of tucked away into my drawer thinking I would want a break. But I missed it and I immediately wanted to bring it back out. So I did. So I brought out the new one and I've already cracked it open, and this is the second time I've used this new tube. And at the rate that this one went, I'm going to have this until 2026. Maybe a little bit shorter if I use this every day, but dang. Yeah, so Dermacol is a huge win for me. Next, let's talk about foundation. So the one I'm wearing on my face today, this is the Missha Perfect Cover BB Cream. I did a video on this a couple of years ago, and it's actually one of my top 10 videos on my whole channel. And I talked about this back when they had a shit shade range. And so I talked about this it was what was it called? It was Throwing Shade, I think it was what I called it. But essentially, I was talking about foundations of shade ranges that suck, but I loved the foundation formula. And this was it. I just love the way that it feels on my skin, the way that it sits on my skin. It just looks amazing, and it feels so comfortable. I love this. So I bought it a few weeks ago, again, because I saw a little while ago they actually expanded their shade range, and I felt a little bit better about buying it again. And it being a formula that I loved, I missed it, and I really wanted it. So over the last month and a half, I've actually used this a lot. And it's been just as bulletproof as I remember it being. So I am halfway through this bottle. Most likely I'll probably buy another bottle as soon as I'm out of this one. I also just realized over the last few months I've been using mainly affordable foundations. The Missha, depending on where you buy it, is anywhere between 10 and 25. And then these were the other foundations I was reaching for. I've got the Essence Pretty Natural foundation, the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream, and then the Wet n Wild Makeup Blocker Pump BB Cream. And this was what I used to dupe the Chantecaille foundation, which actually that Chantecaille foundation is now going viral again, because I guess they used it on the actresses in Euphoria, and so everyone was looking for it. And actually my video about this foundation duping the Chantecaille, I was really confused because that video came out 3 years ago, and people are just now finding the video again now recently, and they're commenting and they're thanking me for the recommendation. But it's because the Chantecaille foundation went viral again because of that TV show. But this is still a great dupe for that. I still use this. I've bought this more times than I can count. I hope it's not discontinued because I think this was originally limited edition, but I loved this. I kept using it. The Essence Pretty Natural I loved using in combination with the Dermacol because this really doesn't give you a lot of coverage at all, but it has a beautiful finish. So I would kind of put this on all over my face, and then wherever I had like breakouts, I was actually breaking out a lot the last few weeks, I would use the Dermacol just to spot conceal those and also use under my eyes. Last but not least, the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream. With it being winter and cold and dry, I really found myself reaching more for like the BB, the CC creams, like a nice moisturizing kind of finish. And this is just another really great CC cream. Really enjoy it. Moving on to face or like base kind of products, I found myself reaching for the Physicians Formula Matte Butter Bronzer, which I didn't think I would. You know, I haven't used this in a long time, but I think the shade is actually a pretty decent shade match for me right now. I'm actually wearing it as a bronzer today. I like the way this applies. I like the way that it blends out. It's really pretty. The only thing I don't like about this is the packaging. It's kind of bulky, and I never use the brush that they give you with these. And I never use the mirror. And I kind of wish this came in a flatter package. But I've used the original butter bronzer. I've bought like 2 of them, and I panned one, and now I have the butter box of like all the butter products up until a certain point, which I think I brought that out once, but it's kind of big and bulky. I kind of like traveling with that one better because you kind of have everything all in one spot. But I surprised myself by reaching for this the last few weeks. Next, I have a highlighter palette that I purchased a few months ago, and when I first got it, like I couldn't stop using it. I loved the highlighter so much, and so I put it away, and I didn't bring it back out until just recently. This is the Lunatick Cosmetic Labs Here Lies Your Face highlighter palette, and first, it's shaped like a tombstone. My aesthetic, clearly. And then you've got these highlighter shades. I have to say, it doesn't go too dark. I can use each one of these shades, but they're so pretty. Like, they don't look like a lot in the pan. It reminds me a bit of like the Essence Pure Nude highlighter, where in the pan it looks not like a lot, but when you put it on, oh my god, it looks so pretty. It's like a lit from within kind of just like glow, and less like a powder highlight, if that makes any sense. But I love these highlights, and I was reaching for them a ton. I also brought out an oldie but a goodie face palette. This is the Smashbox Ablaze face palette, and I was bringing this out specifically for these blushes in the middle. I'm wearing the blush very heavily today on my cheeks and on the tip of my nose. And this is the exact kind of blush that I was just like craving recently, like a really nice, like hot, like coral kind of blush. To be frank, I haven't touched these powders or the highlighters in a bit, and I'm not sure why. I think the bronzers might have been a little too dark for me when I got this, but the highlighters, I mean, they're really, really pretty. And if you use a light hand, I can still use them on my skin tone, though they're clearly made for someone who's a bit tanner than myself. I am Casper after all. But I definitely pulled this out so many times just for the blush. And I love that you have kind of like a more matte version of the blush and like a more like glowy kind of blush topper to go with it. It's just beautiful when you mix them together. Last, for face products, I have something I've recently bought into my collection. My friend Victoria from Rare Beauty Envy on she's now mostly on TikTok. She used to be mostly on like Instagram, and she did a little bit of YouTube, but she has a huge makeup collection, and she was decluttering and she was selling things, and she had something that I wanted when it came out, but at the time Tarte was doing some sketchy shit. Now they've kind of atoned for it, and I was looking into actually buying from Tarte, but by the time I got around to it, this was discontinued. This is the Park Ave Princess bronzer palette. I wanted this so bad, and I could not find it anywhere except for like on Poshmark and Mercari. And I was reaching out, and people had it listed, but they were no longer really selling it. Like, they had abandoned the account. But when I saw Victoria was selling this, I jumped on it, and I was like, can I please get it? And so I got it. I love the Tarte like bronzer and contour formula. It's in my favorite face palette, the Tarte Clay Play face palette. So I knew I was going to get use out of this. Part of me is hesitant to use like the lighter shades because I know I could go through them so quickly, either as an under eye powder, as an eye, to set my eye primer. So I really wanted to focus on the actual bronzers. They're beautiful. I really like this, and I think it's going to be a nice staple in my kind of face palette collection. Let's quickly do lip products before I jump into the eyeshadow palettes that surprised me. First is the lip gloss that I'm wearing today. This is from MAC, and this is What Are You? This is the Lipglass in the shade Very Go Lightly. I actually got this when I did a back to MAC, which is when you bring 6 empty MAC products back to a MAC store and you can trade it in for a free lipstick, a lip gloss, or a single eyeshadow. I did a lipstick, a bullet lipstick the last time I did it, so this time I wanted to do something a little bit different. I was going to get an eyeshadow, but they told me that you could do a lip gloss, and I was like, oh hell yeah, I'll do that. So I got this shade. I've been reaching for it recently, specifically for filming, but also I was reaching for it a couple of times when I knew I was going to be like on camera a lot for work. It just looks really, really pretty, and it's comfortable. And it really shines. It's not like those lip glosses that kind of slip and slide everywhere. It does stick in place, but it looks so, so pretty. Next, I have this little lipstick from Camo CC. Camo CC has been putting out a lot of just like stellar products recently, and they came out with a whole line of these bullet lipsticks. This is in the shade 0565 Lover, and I wore this quite a few times, even though I don't really reach for bullet lipsticks that much. If I do it, it's like just like a light peachy kind of nude. It smells kind of like a crayon, but in general, this is actually a really pretty bullet lipstick, and they gifted me the whole line of these in PR. This is the one I've been reaching for the most. I think I'm going to go through and try out the rest of them and give you a speed review the next time I do a review roundup. But I was shocked that not only was I reaching for a bullet lipstick, but that I enjoy it this much. All right, last but not least, you might be able to predict this based on what I was craving for blush recently, but the 2 eyeshadow palettes I reached for the most during my break were the Colourpop Orangey Glad palette and the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. Yeah. I actually really liked using these with my Pan That palette. So I'm panning the Colourpop Yes Please palette, and I'm panning the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette. So these oranges just went beautifully with the Yes Please palette. Everything except for the pressed glitter I love in this palette. It's just a shame that Colourpop is just churning and becoming the beast that it currently is, because really they had some great products once upon a time. But from what I've seen and heard recently, their quality is just like absolutely tanked. You could say the same about Too Faced, actually. I'm actually really happy they still sell the Sweet Peach palette. Part of me was going to buy it again. Like, I'm tempted to buy it again because the shade that I love the most, Luscious, it's almost gone. And I don't want to use up the whole thing because I actually love that shade. And there's a specific look with this palette that uses Luscious all over the lid that I love, and I stopped kind of using it because I didn't want to run out of the shade. But that's the look that I pulled this out for. It was the pumpkin spice tutorial that Thrifty Beauty did. Unfortunately, she pulled most of the videos down from her channel, so that video is no longer available. But I followed the look. It's basically a combination of like these 3 shades, this shade, and then Luscious all over the lid. So I brought that out, and I did that a few times during my break, and I just remember how much I loved that video, how much I learned from the tutorial, and how much I just loved the really kind of classic, like neutral, not smoky eye, but it's like a neutral, pretty eye. So that's it. That's what surprised me that I kind of brought out during my YouTube break. Let me know down below if any of these picks surprise you. Thank you for watching, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye.